Welcome back to Lying Serpent Media, Gatekeepers, Instigators, and Players. Today we will be discussing the Civil War and spiritual warfare. We will travel back in time and talk to a dead man, and that dead man is Abraham Lincoln. He is going to reveal something very interesting about the Lying Serpent Media. They were in full effect during his time. So let's hear what Abraham Lincoln had to say. A great number of Democratic papers have been sent to me lately, evidently written by Roman Catholics, publishings that I was born a Roman Catholic and baptized by a priest. They call me a renegade and apostate on account of that, and they heap upon my head mountains of abuse. At first I laughed at that, for it is a lie. Thanks be to God, I have never been a Roman Catholic. No priest of Rome has ever laid his hand upon my head. But the persistency of the Romish press to present this falsehood to their readers as a gospel truth must have a meaning. So Abraham Lincoln was constantly thinking about this. It was troubling his mind. Why are they constantly pressing this issue? So he asked his good friend Charles Chiniquy. Charles Chiniquy had spent 50 years in the Church of Rome, and he almost lost his life to the penitentiary on some trumped up charges by these same instigators and players. But his good friend Abraham Lincoln, before he was president and just a lawyer, took his case and got him off them trumped up charges and released from prison. And this is what Charles Chiniquy has to say in regards to that letter. 4. Not only my impression is that it is your sentence of death, but I have from the lips of a converted priest that it is in order to excite the fanaticism of the Roman Catholic murderers whom they hope to find sooner or later, to strike you down. They have invented that false story of your being born in the Church of Rome and of your being baptized by a priest. They want by that to brand your face with a ignominious mark of apostasy. Do not forget that in the Church of Rome, an apostate is an outcast who has no place in society and who has no right to live. The Jesuits want a Roman Catholic to believe that you are a monster, an open enemy of God and His church, that you are an excommunicated man. For every apostate is ipso facto, by that very fact, excommunicated. I have brought to you the theology of one of the most learned and approved of the Jesuits of his time, Buzenbaum, who with many others say that the man who will kill you will do a good and holy work. More than that, here is a copy of the decree of Pope Gregory VII. So you see, this religious organization take on a Christian guard, but it's really not Christian. They have committed so many murders. Let me tell you, they have killed more people than all the wars put together on this earth. They are a murderous organization. This is what else Charles Chiniquy had to say. That decree is incorporated in the canon law, which every priest must study and which every good Catholic must follow. My dear President, I must repeat to you here what I said when I was in Urbana in 1850. My fear is that you will fall under the blows of a Jesuit assassin if you do not pay more attention than you have done till now to protect yourself. Remember that because Coligny was a heretic, as you are. He was brutally murdered on the St. Bartholomew night that Henry IV was stabbed by the Jesuit assassin. If you don't know religious history, a lot of assassinations was taking place. A lot of murders was taking place when leaders gave their people freedom, liberty of conscience to worship God according to the dictates of their conscience. The Pope did not like that. They waged relentless war against the people and murdered them all, if not causing them to repent and convert back to their pagan religion. So during the Civil War, this was one of the main reasons why it even broke out in the first place, because there was a plot in the old world that Abraham Lincoln had learned from his good friend Samuel Morse. Samuel Morse, the inventor of the electric telegraph, had told him when he was in Rome that he overheard them saying how they hated America. They hated the fact that she had a Declaration of Independence. They hated the fact that it gave its people liberty. Liberty to be free to think according to the dictates of their conscience, free to worship God according to how they choose to worship God, and not being popish slaves. So they had a plan to destroy America, to break up her union, to cause the North and the South to fight, to wage bloody war against each other, to lay in ruins while they march in and take over. I don't know if you know this, but when America was in her infancy and people were immigrating to America, she was not sending over its good citizens. No, she was sending the worst of the worst. But along with that came its instigators. Yes, let's hear what Abraham Lincoln has to say. The war would have never been possible without the sinister influence of the Jesuits, who owe it to popery that we now see our land reddened with the blood of her most noblest sons. I pity the priests, the bishops, and the monks of Rome in the United States when the people realize that they are in great part responsible for the tears and bloodshed in this war. The later, the more terrible will the retribution be. I conceal what I knew of that subject from the knowledge of the nation. For if the people knew the whole truth, this war would turn into a religious war, and it would at once take a tenfold more savage and bloody character. It would become merciless, as all religious wars are. It would become a war of extermination on both sides. So you see, Abraham Lincoln, already saddened with all the blood that was already shed of America's sons, did not want to reveal this to the people. But one thing you must notice, something else was written out of history. Yes, his assassin was trained by the Jesuits. Mary Surratt, John Surratt, John Wilkes Booth. All these people were Roman Catholics and did not repent of their sin because they believed, just like another religious body, that they were doing the work of God to exterminate the infidel, that they was going to have a crown laid up in heaven, not 13 virgins, but a crown laid up in heaven, that they was going to get rich rewards, that they was doing the work of God. They were so deceived by the devil. So you see, people, this spiritual warfare is real. No matter how you try to escape it, it's real. And eventually things are going to come to a head. You see America and everything that she's going through today. People alienated from its country, from its laws. If Abraham Lincoln had let that secret be known, what he was concealing, it would have changed the course of history. Those Protestants that were fighting each other, the Protestants of the North, the Union Army, and the Protestants of the South, the Confederate Army, would have joined together and fought all the Romish, popish slaves that was in America until they rid this country of them all. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Abraham Lincoln has to say in regards to that. I conceal what I knew of that subject from the knowledge of the nation. For if the people knew the whole truth, this war would turn into a religious war, and it would at once take a tenfold more savage and bloody character. It would become merciless. All religious wars are. It would become a war of extermination on both sides. The Protestants of both North and the South would surely unite to exterminate the priests and the Jesuits if they could hear what Professor Morse has said to me of the plots made in the very city of Rome to destroy this republic, and if they could learn by the priests, the nuns, and the monks who daily land on our shores under the pretext of preaching their religion, instructing the people in their schools, taking care of the sick in the hospitals, are nothing else but the emissaries of the Pope, of Napoleon, and the other despots of Europe to undermine our institutions, alienate the hearts of our people from our constitutions and our laws, destroy our schools, and prepare a reign of anarchy here as they have done in Ireland and Spain and wherever they are, any people who they want to be free. So you see, Abraham Lincoln concealed these facts because he had already seen what the Civil War was doing to the American people. So much bloodshed had already taken place on its land, and he didn't want any more to take place. But had he spoken up, he would not have been assassinated, and America course in history would have completely changed. It would have completely had a different outcome. Today, America is in turmoil because he kept that secret to himself. You see our borders, people are trying to flood across this border, but have you put it together? Those people that are coming from Guatemala, from Mexico, what is their religion? What is the main religion over there? They're Roman Catholic. So you see, they're trying to flood its subjects as they did back then. You see, history constantly repeats, but this is a religious war. You can't, no matter how much you try to escape it, that element is still there. This war has been raging and raging and raging for years. The Pope has a goal, but we have to understand that we have people embedded in our government. Doesn't that sound familiar? To undermine our institution, alienate the hearts of our people from our Constitution and our laws. Doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't that going on today? I hear so many people and so-called military veterans who served 20 years in the military that listen to the Lying Serpent Media would turn around and say how they could piss on the flag, how they could burn the flag and do all these things. Why? Because they're being incited by the Lying Serpent Media. Abraham Lincoln knew that he was going to be assassinated. He was warned many times. Let's listen to what else he had to say. My ambassadors in Italy, France, and England, as well as Professor Morse, have many times warned me against the plots of the murderers whom they have detected in those different countries. But I see no other safeguard against those murderers but to be always ready to die. Much more was said by the President at this interview of a religious character in which Mr. Lincoln expressed his conviction that he would die by the hands of a Jesuit assassin, just as soon as the peace should be declared. So you see, Abraham Lincoln knew that he was going to be assassinated. But you know what he said? He said, man shall not care when and where he shall die, provided he dies at the post of duty and honor. He knew it was nothing he can do. It was just only a matter of time, because Rome had at its hands daggers. She could incite any one of her subjects to carry out the deed, and they would do it because they would believe that they were doing the work of God. These people were that deceived. When they were immigrating here, Samuel Morse writing to Thomas Jefferson, both of them talking together. And you know what they would call those people coming across here on those ships? Priest-led slaves, because they didn't have a mind of their own. See, that's the whole thing with Catholicism, that pagan religion. You have no conscience of your own. You listen to the word of the Pope as if he is your God. Listen to what Abraham Lincoln has to say. This is one of the main reasons why he was so hated by the Jesuits, by the Pope, by the Roman Catholic slaves. I am for liberty of conscience in its noblest, broadest, highest sense, but I cannot give liberty of conscience to the Pope or his followers. The papists, so long as they tell me through all their councils, theologians, and canon laws that their conscience orders them to burn my wife, strangle my children, and cut my throat when they find the opportunity. So you see, what he was stating towards the end was part of the Jesuit oath. As I said before, these people take on a Christian facade. Oh, they're visiting the sick. Oh, they're taking care of the little children. They're feeding the hungry. But see, that's a work religion. You don't work for salvation. Salvation is a free gift by the grace of God through his son, Jesus Christ. All you have to do is believe in Jesus and you are saved. But Roman Catholic paganism teach work religion, paying penance, and all those type of unbiblical things. This was the whole spark of the Reformation. Things listed in that 95 Theses that Martin Luther nailed to the Church of Wittenberg. And this little spark that Martin Luther created a flame, and people were so relieved that all they had to do was have faith and believe in Jesus Christ to be saved, and not do all those things that the church was commanding them to do. Now you see why the church is so rich and powerful? People were filling her coffers thinking that they could pay penance, pay people out of purgatory so they can get to heaven. All these unbiblical things. And the Pope hated it. They even attempted to take Martin Luther's life, but God spared him and watched over him. And he died, not from the hands of a Pope, but of old age. A lot of people don't know that there is a black Pope and a white Pope. The white Pope goes around. He's publicly seen. He's the public figure of the Roman Catholic Church. But behind the scenes, there is a black Pope. He is the general of the Jesuits. He commands that army. Let's hear what their oath says. And this is going to validate what Abraham Lincoln was saying about strangling his wife and cutting his throat. Here is part of the Jesuit oath. I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatever, even as a corpse or a cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope. I furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make a wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and the wombs of their women, and crush their infant heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisoned cup, the strangulating cord, the steel of the poignard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the person or persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed so to do by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. And they had a nerve to say, of the Society of Jesus. And they're going to do all that evil against a human being, which they have no right to take another person's life. Is that not crazy? People don't even know this. This is history. These people were brought about as an answer to the Reformation. They are the outcome. They are the counter-reformation. They will not stop at anything. This is why I told you, they will not stop until America falls. They need America to fall to bring in her new world order. What is her new world order? You see, this is the new world. The old world was Europe, where the Pope was, where people were fleeing from on the Mayflower. The new world under the Pope's rule. All these years, we've been here without a Pope, but her people are embedded, deeply embedded in our government, in our schools, in our churches, playing the role as Baptists, Methodists, the various Protestant organizations that we have in the United States. They will pretend to be part of these various religious groups when deep down they are really a Jesuit assuming a role. Listen to what John Adams has to say to Thomas Jefferson in a letter. Shall we not have regular swarms of them here, and as many disguises as only a king of the gypsies can assume, dressed as painters, publishers, writers, and schoolmasters? If ever there was a body of men who merited eternal damnation on earth and in hell, it is this society of loyalists, the Jesuits. Isn't that something? But you look around the United States, as Abraham Lincoln said, her schools are everywhere. You look at the people in government, most of the men belonging to these secret societies, most of them are Freemasons or the Knights of Malta. Those are her agents. It's really sad, but like I said before, this is spiritual warfare. We must acknowledge it. America will fulfill her role in this prophecy. Let's listen to Abraham Lincoln as he speaks as a prophet about America's future. I do not pretend to be a prophet, but though not a prophet, I see a very dark cloud on our horizon, and the dark cloud is coming from Rome. It is filled with tears of blood. It will rise and increase till its flanks will be torn by a flash of lightning, followed by a fearful peal of thunder. Then a cyclone such as the world has never seen will pass over the country, spreading ruin and desolation from north to south. After it is over, there will be long days of peace and prosperity, for popery with its merciless inquisition will have been forever swept away from our country. Neither I nor you, but our children will see those things. So you see, Abraham Lincoln knew that these people were going to be able to carry out their agenda. You see what Trump is dealing with today. These people are so embedded in our country, looking like us, pretending to be like us, in church with us. You don't know who these people are until it's revealed. Something gives way and then they say something. If you know what's going on, you will pick up on it. But if you don't, it'll just pass right over your head. This is why we have to study history. This is why we have to have that connection with God. You have to have that spiritual insight. If you don't have that insight, you're not going to know what's going on. You're going to be lost. Thanks for tuning in to Lying Serpent Media, Gatekeepers, Instigators, and Players. We will continue to touch on these things and connect the dots to see why America is in so much turmoil today.